Hi, everybody.
Hello there.
I'm Jerry.
And I'm Linda, and this is Gizmo.
We're the Village's Newcomers. Today we have a mega show, a big one. It's going to be a long one.
Uh-oh.
You know, it starts off, and it's all manageable, and then next thing you know, we're getting more questions, and something fun or cool will pop up, and bang, we got ourselves a show. The big news this week is the weather.
Oh.
I know last week I had my cousin Eddie hat on, and we talked about how cold it was, but is it cold?
It is very cold. Wore boots last night to an outing. This morning, the wind is whipping around like crazy.
The weatherman said a historical low of 26 degrees. I know you're laughing at us up there. You hate it when we send you those beach pictures in the winter, and now you're getting the last laugh because it's chilly down here.
Yeah. You know what I thought was interesting about the weather? The news said that the orange growers, the citrus growers, will put water all over the trees and cover the trees and the oranges with ice. It's a keeps them warm.
Well, we'll talk about the weather a little bit later in the show. We've got some other cool things for you, like a bear invades the villages and another creature we want you to help us identify. Stay tuned for that. Your classes are getting crowded.
Yeah, they are crowded.
The snowbirds are here. Speaking of weather, falling iguanas. Now that's something, right?
I don't think we're going to see iguanas here, but they're falling.
All that and more. Hit it, Wally.
Send us your questions, we've got your answers. Jerry and Linda's Mailbag Monday.
We have a lot of shout outs this week.
Right, I'm going to start with one. A couple of weeks ago, I made a call out to you guys because we had a dear friend back home in Indiana that's really going through some tough times. And he's a swell guy, and I knew you all would respond, and wow, did you ever? Lots of you sent cards and letters, and we got a note from Rick's wife, Jennifer, and said that it really cheered him up. And I guess they're still trickling in. I'll put his address in the description of today's video if any of you want to follow that up, but having a real rough go of it. And thanks so much for making his day. Also want to give a shout out to Nancy Ray. Nancy is helping us unsuccessfully so far. It's not her fault. We were hacked. I've lost my Facebook account, which means Linda's doing the bulk of the responding now. She can still get it on her phone, but I can't log into Facebook or our Village's Newcomer site on mine. And boy, has it crippled me a little bit. So be patient with us, and we're going to try to get that worked out, although right now we're at a real standstill. Here's Margot standing in the snow in her pretty Jerry and Linda t-shirt. Hi, Margot.
And Donna sent a clip of her little puppy talking to Gizmo.
TJ and Stella standing in front of that famous sign at the sales center. When you buy a home, they put your name up. So welcome, TJ. We met Mark and Angela this week. They're from Michigan. Great folks. Angela has her own YouTube channel called Angela Masson.
Check that out.
Yeah, she's got a really nice channel. She does women's fashion.
Woo. Sammy and Berkeley wrote from Montana, and they have a bulldog named Norman.
Bulldog was the mascot at our high school.
It was.
We love those English bulldogs, but they kind of... We met Sherry at Steak and Shake. What a nice lady.
She was very nice.
Leslie and Ken sent a picture of their pup, Lizzie, watching Gizmo. Gizmo has his own fan club.
I think he does.
Patty and Jeff just moved here, and they told us that Rosie loves watching Gizmo.
Wendy met us for lunch, and you know she drives one of those motorized parachutes.
We were offered a chance to do that. Not with her, but another fellow said he does that. He has a business, and one of our adventures, he offered us to come and ride his motorized parachute, but one of us said no.
I wonder who that was.
I hope you're enjoying my diet tips. We'll have another one for you later in the show. Mark wrote in and said that he's enjoying the tips. Check him out.
Jerry, great suggestion. One chip at a time does the trick. Keep up the great work.
We're coming up on Groundhog Day, and look what we got from, who was it? Gary
and Robin.
And Robin sent this. Look at this, a little Punxsutawney Phil, and they live in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania.
Think he's going to see a shadow?
Thank you for that. They also sent a couple of golf balls from Punxsutawney. Our last shout out today will go to Julie and Bill.
We sent you questions, you gave us answers. Jerry and Linda, Mailbag Monday. I'm Bill.
And I'm Julie. We closed on our house in the Villages, came back up north to pack up, and this is the very last Michigan winter we will have to endure.
And as you like to say, we'll see you when we get there.
Villages,
here we come! Ah!
Hey, Bill.
How about that?
There you go.
Now, an amazing bit of news. This past week at the Clifton Cove putting course, that's the new one. We've had the putt and play down at Finney. Now we have Clifton Cove. Folks were there and a big black bear walked through.
Oh my gosh.
That is awesome. I mean, I love the wildlife. I do. I don't fear it. Linda's a little nervous, especially when she walks Gizmo.
Oh, yes.
This morning, in fact, she found a pile of scat. And it had fur all in it. Night before last, she was out. Tell him what happened.
Well, I was in the driveway and Gizmo was doing his business in the yard, and all of a sudden I heard this screeching sound from an animal, small animal. I thought maybe it was a little dog, but I wasn't sure. So I yanked Gizmo and drug him back in the house running. And Jerry saw me and goes, "What's happening? Why are you running into the house?" And I said, "Well, I heard this awful noise." And sure enough,
She heard an animal screaming. So I got on YouTube and
Yeah.
I said, did it sound like this? Did it sound like that? Anyway, it was a rabbit being eaten alive, we're pretty sure. So what could do that? And then last night, one of our neighbors said, "Oh my goodness, look what our driveway camera captured." It's hard to make out too great a detail, but it's one of two things. It's either a Florida mountain lion or a bobcat. It's not a great video because of the darkness, but I'm going to slow that down. What do you all think it is? Is it a mountain lion or is it a bobcat?
and that was taken at 10 till 7 in the morning. It was very early.
That's early in the morning.
Oof.
Yeah. Now, speaking of bears, we have a special connection with bears. I particularly like bears. It started a long time ago, but back in high school, a buddy and myself, we went and wrestled a bear, Victor the Wrestling Bear. I think we did something with this on Facebook last year, maybe. But at the state fair, they would have this traveling bear. And one day we went there and there's this bear and they said, "Who wants to take on Victor the Wrestling Bear?" And nobody did. So my buddy and I looked at each other and said, "Oh, all right, we'll wrestle him." So we both did. We wrestled the bear.
You foolish high school boys.
And it was fun. And he had a muzzle on, you know.
You sure?
But wow, what a beast. We liked it so much, we went back the next night and they let us wrestle him again. And,
Did they declaw him?
no, he wasn't declawed, but you know, he was, evidently he was a pretty good bear. You can look him up on Google, Victor the Wrestling Bear. These other shots are shots I took throughout the years. Linda and I have been to Alaska photographing bears, and we've been to Minnesota photographing bears. And I've got a good collection of bear photographs and just thought I'd share a few with you. And speaking of the weather again and the falling iguanas, what is that all about? Well, an iguana is a reptile. It's a lizard. I mean, they can get that big. In fact, they eat them in some parts of the world.
Yes, didn't we see them in Cancun?
Yeah, we've seen many of them
Yeah.
in Cancun. They climb trees sometimes, and during cold snaps, their metabolism slows down so much they forget they're up in a tree. They fall out, and they can hurt you, or actually
themselves.
break the window of your car or dent your car when they fall out. And there's a falling iguana alert, and that's not for here though. About an hour south of here, a little more,
Wow.
you start getting into them, and maybe a little more than an hour south. But falling iguanas, can you imagine? They slow down or become immobile when it's 40 degrees. They may fall from trees, but they're not dead. So imagine you walk out one day and in your driveway you've got a bunch of iguanas laying there with their feet up, and you think, well, I gosh, look at all these dead iguanas. And then the sun comes out and boom, they all start coming back to life.
Oh my gosh.
Here's a question. This is from Pepper. How many homes in the villages are struck by lightning? Well, that's all these questions, and how many questions are hard to
Answer.
to pin down. But I did call the fire department to find out. They were helpful, and they said they would look it up and get back to us later. But as always, I waited till too late to wait for later. But they did say that every time there's lightning, every time it rains and there's bolts of lightning, they will get calls. I said, what kind of calls? I said, fires,
Yeah.
rarely fires. Usually the calls would be they blew out somebody's TV
Right.
or their microwave.
Need
or
those surge protectors.
something, yeah.
Protection.
Yeah, but they sell, and by the way, take a look here. They sell these lightning rod kits for your homes. And they put these rods on that are supposed to catch the lightning if it hits your home. And it will direct that electricity down to a rod that's pounded into the ground to dissipate the electricity. But I mean, if you Google or YouTube lightning strikes, holy mackerel, they can explode things.
Oh wow.
We haven't heard of anybody 3 years since we've been here that's had lightning damage.
This question asks about parties. Do the villages allow parties of maybe somebody having 25 cars out in front of their homes?
We see that every once in a while. People will have parties here, and never 25.
I never counted.
But they will have cars
Yeah.
parked up and down the street. And I did call deed compliance and found out that that's totally fine. You can have cars parked outside on the street during parties, and
Yeah, just as long as they don't stay 3 or 4 days.
yeah, you can do that. Also, that we're going to talk about deed restrictions in just a little bit, and we'll bring up another topic there. Gladys and Roy from Massachusetts write, have you known anybody that's gotten sick from all the pesticides that they spray willy-nilly around the villages?
I was worried about that when we came here because I knew there was a lot of pesticides being the golf courses, the numerous golf courses here, and the yards. Everybody's yards look beautiful, and that's because of pesticides.
I called multiple companies. We use a company. And I tell you guys, and you probably don't believe it because we still get letter after letter talking about, I could never move to Florida, all those bugs. We don't see any bugs.
No, we don't.
It's because of the spraying. But then you have the concern over, growing the third eye or
Yeah,
whatever.
cancer and all.
And I called the companies and I said, tell me what's in your sprays. And both companies that I talked to said they are eco-friendly. One company told me, hey, when we're out spraying your lawn, you could go out there and roll around in it and you wouldn't get hurt.
I don't think I would do that.
No, I wouldn't do it either. But obviously that has to be when you're spraying
Yeah.
all day long. Somebody's getting their house sprayed here. And every week or so, that truck will come by. It sounds like a jet coming down the street. It's coming slow, but it's got a big machine that blows out a mist of pesticide.
And that's around 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
maybe.
late at night to control mosquitoes.
Yeah.
And obviously, you could never do that if it's going to be super harmful. At least I hope they can't.
Yeah, a lot of lawsuits, huh?
So I checked into it, and they do use pesticides, and they said many of them are organic, and all of them are safe. Stephanie Camp adds to that question. She says, with the aggressive fertilizing and bug-killing applications Do you worry about Gizmo being exposed to all that on a regular basis? I don't worry about that at all, but she does. She
I do.
washes his feet every
do.
time he comes in.
Every time.
She wipes his butt after he goes to the bathroom every time.
Every time. I don't want him, we have carpet. I don't want his feet on the carpet. And so we do take our shoes off. We come in, take our shoes off because they're by the door. So we try to keep all the outside stuff. I do. I keep a tight house right there. For that reason, I don't want all that in the house and him walking around, or if he has a itchy bottom scooting, I don't want that either. So I wipe him, clean him in the sink, and he's used to it.
Yep, he enjoys it. Speaking of deed restrictions, there are so many here. And we absolutely love that. Except when it's something we don't want to be restricted by. But it really is good. Where we lived in Indiana, our neighbors were fine. They were excessively noisy. Nice people with 5 kids, just like our son now has 5
I would
kids.
imagine there's
He
neighbors.
has 5 kids who are excessively noisy.
That's a kid.
But the junk in the yard, the grass that never gets cut, the pink flamingos in the yard, the giant statue of a sea captain holding a lantern, those are great. Those are fine if you want them. If you live on a farm, if you live on a place, fine. But here, everybody spends so much on their house, and they look so good that we want to keep them looking good. And if everybody had the same taste, there would be no problems, but they don't. Here are a few of the decorations we saw as we traveled around the villages just a day or two ago. You can see that some of these are cute, and some of these anybody would like to have in their yard, but others appeal to a small audience. And if your neighbor has 25 gnomes in his yard, or maybe an old plow sitting out there, that's what we had back in Indiana. We had people that put plows out. They would put old tractor parts. They'd take an old bathtub and recycle it and put a statue of
Mary,
inside it. And, here everything is manicured so nicely, and people have so much money invested that it's not allowed. Here's a list of some of the things that you might find in the deed restrictions: design restrictions, building size restrictions, maintenance requirements, landscaping restrictions, parking restrictions, home-based business restrictions, fence height restrictions. Well, that won't apply here because you can't build a fence here if it's not already built when you buy your home. Restrictions on types of businesses allowed, property use restrictions, and restrictions related to environmental issues. So a lot of restrictions. And all of the restrictions here and all the things that you saw in that video are complaint driven. If your neighbor did put out 25 gnomes and nobody on your street complained, then he's going to have 25 gnomes in his yard. Some districts allow things that other districts won't. Some districts have anonymous complaints allowed. Some districts don't. Personally, and if you look on Nextdoor, you're going to see a gigantic debate on should anonymous complaints be allowed. By golly, if he's going to make me remove my gnomes, then I ought to know who it is. I understand. However, you can have severe altercations between neighbors over things. For example, an RV in the driveway. I've specifically asked about that. We don't have that problem here.
No.
But we see them as we drive through. RVs parked in the driveway, and they're allowed for a short time. But what if the neighbor never moved it? No one would make him move it until somebody complained. And you would have every right to complain if your neighbor had an RV in your driveway. But if you do complain, you're going to either get the cold shoulder or you're going to get some kind of brushback on it.
Yeah, if it's anonymous, no one will know. I mean, they'll probably knock on the door or else give them a letter and say, you have been cited, and then what happens?
You know, that's just not right. You're supposed to sign. When you come in, you sign, and you agree to these deed restrictions.
Yeah.
And some people don't understand that. So that brings us to our next slide. If you look there, you can never rely on word of mouth in making a business deal. You have a contract in front of you like the enormous deed restriction document. You either read it and understand it, question it until you do understand, or you ignore it and you live with what it states silently. That's what we do, because we didn't read it at closing.
No, you're quickly signing papers.
We thought it was, we anticipated the restrictions, but we didn't look at them individually.
Yeah.
And I think they make the place better to live. You know, if we wanted the yard art and we wanted all the freedom, we would have stayed where we were. This is one of the selling points for this place. As you come down here, everyone abides by the same rules.
And we're so close together.
People complain that they didn't know about this restriction or that restriction. I understand it. I get it.
Royce from the frozen north asks, are you anxious for the snowbirds to leave? Everything seems harder when they are in Florida. Like the traffic or the shopping, golf, clubs, classes, they're all jammed. They do get jammed. I went to yoga class last week and there were 52 people in there, and each person that came in the door, I came in early, about a half an hour early, maybe 40 minutes early, put my mat there in the back, and it started filling up, and then it kept filling up, and I did not want to move my mat closer to the next lady. And I know I was being kind of selfish, but I kept thinking, please, no more people, please, no more people. Because oh, look at Gizmo's new shirt. He needs to go on a diet. But yeah, it gets pretty crowded. And that was concerning to me, especially during this time.
Let's take a look at, that was stretch class, right?
That was yoga, gentle yoga.
Oh, gentle yoga. All right. Looks kind of undignified from this angle.
I was in the back and I thought, oh, I'm going to get everybody's backsides. But yeah, and then my camera started acting up and putting a great big bright light, and I couldn't shoot any more film or footage. But anyway, it was a fun class, and I totally think everyone should go to it. It's really enjoyable, but a little crowded.
You said it gets a little embarrassing sometimes.
Well, sometimes there is a little passing of gas. Not by me, no. Not by me. There's
man.
always a giggle. But anyway, it's a great class.
This is an anonymous question. We've had it. This is written sort of respectfully. Sometimes they're not so respectful, but this one says, I could never live surrounded by old people. You seem younger.
Oh, thanks.
How can you stand it? I don't understand these people that write those kind of questions. You know, it's like they don't think they are going to get older.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to get old and then they'll think, well, you know, what in the world was I thinking? Do you remember when you were younger and somebody 50 years old, you thought, whoa, that old fellow that lives down the street?
They're old. Not anymore.
It's just a kid now.
Yeah.
But 70 is the new 50, right?
That's true.
I was playing golf a couple of days ago, bundled up and went out and played golf. And on one of the tee boxes, I looked over and this lady had a beautiful garden with these big banana trees.
Ooh, wow.
And I looked over and the bananas were actually pulling the branches down to the ground.
Yeah.
Big stalks of banana
fun to see.
right here in the villages. And I thought that was cool. I haven't seen that much. I might have seen it one other time. She's like so many people here, so nice. Another buddy and I went over and we're talking to her. She was in her yard. And she said, yep, I get these every year. And I usually trim it back to one tree. She had like 6 of them. And I give all of them away and I'll keep 1 or 2 in the ground for next year. And my buddy said he was going to take one and put it in his yard. But it'd be kind of cool to have a banana
That'd be
tree.
Great. I mean, they're great for potassium. I love bananas.
I personally don't eat bananas. I don't like them. I don't think I've ever peeled and eaten a banana.
Really?
I mean, I know I tried it because I hate the texture of it.
But you
Hate
like
it.
banana pudding.
Well,
It's different,
I like
right?
everything but the bananas in there. I'll eat the vanilla wafers and,
And the
the
pudding.
yellow pudding, yeah. But the actual bananas, no.
No.
But I'd like to have a banana tree.
Yeah, let's do it.
Time for our last question.
Oh.
Then we'll get to this guy. Look at him. He's got his head wedged in here. He's like, let me play, Daddy. You ready? Lloyd, one more question. I have a medical question. I use marijuana for several reasons, medical and recreational. What should I know regarding this prior to moving to the villages? And he goes on to say that doing that was between him and his wife a joint decision. So I put my trusty reporter on this. What'd you find out?
Well, I had to do a little bit of research, and I didn't know who to call, so I ended up calling online. I just typed in how do you get marijuana in Florida, but anyway, it's a process. And Florida is one of those states. There's 30 states that have legalized marijuana for medicational reasons or medicinal reasons. Thank you. And you have to go through quite a bit. The website to find out more information about medicinal marijuana is for the state of Florida. It's called knowthefacsmmj.com. So I did talk to a woman, though, I did get a hold of a lady, and she said the facts are you do have to be registered the caregiver and the patient has to be registered, and that's a process. You have to get online, fill out an application. The caregiver has to have an application and the patient, and because I guess they're handling the marijuana and giving it to the person. So in that, each person has to pay $75 just for that application. The doctor has to approve you and have to give you a diagnosis and say that's the best thing for you to have the marijuana. And then he has to be an approved marijuana doctor to give you that. You can't just go to your family doctor. You have to go to a special clinic, a marijuana doctor clinic, to do this. And then there's just more red tape. There's different ways to get it. You can get it through the nasal spray. You can get it through tincture, some oils. You can get it actually with the thing. You can actually smoke it.
You make good brownies with it.
You can actually have. There is edible marijuana. Also, I've not ever done marijuana. We have not done marijuana, but anyway, so it's quite involved, and it can get expensive. Some patients can spend $500 to $750 a month on the medical marijuana, so it's quite expensive. So
Well, some people spend that on golf.
yeah, I guess. Not
Maybe
us.
they do both.
Ooh. So as far as smoking it in public, I don't think so. I don't know if you
No,
can do that in
you
public.
can't. You can't.
It's against the
no,
law, so you have to be in the privacy of your home to do all that.
Each week, I'm giving you a dieting tip. Today's is not going to be a demonstration, but it is advice, because I'll tell you, I'm not an expert. Like I said, don't think we know anything really. But about 12 or 15 years ago, I went on a serious diet. I saw a picture of myself. It was disgusting. So I went on a diet. And one thing I did, and you'll remember this, I would not eat after dark.
Yeah.
I very seldom eat breakfast, but I would eat a small lunch, a good dinner, and then I would not eat after dark. And I really felt like that helped, because I didn't snack. I didn't run and get those chips that I love so much, or Doritos, or
M&M bag.
cookies, or candy, or whatever. Once the sun goes down, stop eating. That's
a good tip. That really is.
And with dessert, I would never have a separate dessert from dinner. If I ate dinner, by the way, do you call it dinner or supper? But I would never have a dessert more than 10 minutes after I finished eating supper. I wouldn't wait an hour or 2 hours and then eat dessert. You can have it at the end of your meal, but if you let that 10 minutes go by and you don't eat it, you don't get any. So that's my tip. No eating after dark. Don't delay your dessert. Speaking of diets, Patrick O'Neill sent us a really nice on Facebook. And if you haven't joined our Facebook page, it's The Village's Newcomers, Jerry and Linda. And we'd love to see you on there, because we share a lot of little things and tidbits and videos and short things, like yesterday or the other day we went to Steak and Shake.
Yeah.
And,
did a live video.
Yeah, we did a little live video. So join that. But Patrick on there wrote, he's one of our top viewers. He came down and visited Donut King last week, and he sent us this picture of this bodacious apple fritter.
Oh,
Patrick,
big as my head.
quit. That will cause me to blow this diet in a heartbeat. All right, are you ready? He's whiny. He can't wait to do his part. It's like he's enduring the show just so he can have his little episode. Take it away, Gizmo.
Hi, everybody. Don't you just hate talking to people that answer their own questions? I do. Tim sent me this one. Thanks a lot, Tim. I need some new jokes. What happens when a duck flies upside down? He quacks up!
Well, as usual, you are funny. You're a funny boy. That's going to do it for this week's edition of
Mailbag Monday.
Please tune in to our Thursday show.
That's right. We don't know what it's going to be yet. We've always got some blogs in the works, and we have to see which one we finish. And sometimes we finish them when we think it's not good enough for you, so we don't even post it. But we'll have one for Thursday. Please tune in and join us for that. Again, thanks to all of you that wrote Rick a letter or a card. So nice. I know that meant a lot to him. And thanks to all of you that send us letters and cards. And remember to keep those questions coming. Good questions are what enable us to keep bringing you Mailbag Monday. And we appreciate every single one of you.
If you liked our video today, please press that like and subscribe button. Until next time.
See you when you get here.